Time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day. So join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Good evening. Happy New Year. Welcome to Sports Talk 2019. Oh, does that sound good? Another year of Sports Talk is ahead as we move forward on a brand new year. Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic here live and in color from downtown Columbia, along with our producer, Brian Leonard. Professor Tom Hayes, recovering at the old homestead after a wild night of heavy partying, from what I hear.
I heard the cops were called.
Major police efforts over there last night. We'll get the details from Pro when he rejoins us sometime this year. I'm not sure when that will be. 800-956-7266. We are indeed wide open for your phone calls tonight. It is New Year's Eve.
You want to reopen the express lanes tonight?
No, I don't think there'll be a need. Just call. We'll take your phone calls. Now, the good news for South Carolina came out this afternoon. Donnell Stanley announced that he will return to South Carolina for another season, his fourth season of eligibility, his sixth year at the university. So that is indeed good news for South Carolina, big news as well. We may have him with us here at the bottom of the hour. He is in California with his family, and I just heard back from him, said he may have some time at about 6:30, so hopefully we'll get him on. But when you talk about culture, and this is what Will Muschamp is trying to establish, a culture where there is ownership among the players and where when things don't end well, and they have a chance to continue to play in the program, and they feel like there's unfinished business. And I can't speak for Donnell Stanley. We'll let him speak for himself if we get him. But he, in a comment that he gave me for our story on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, he talked about the fact that he thinks next season is going to be a special season for the Gamecocks, and he wants to be a part of it, and certainly doesn't want to leave with the taste of a 28-0 loss to Virginia in his mouth. So this will give the Gamecocks, if you count Hank Manos as a starter, since he did start in the bowl game, this will give them 4 starters returning on the offensive line.
You know, I never like to get into guys whether they should or shouldn't, just because a lot of that is their own personal decision, and it's made for a variety of different reasons that have nothing to do with us or anything other than their personal preferences and what they want to do with their lives. But he said it best when you talked to him before the Belk Bowl. He said he's going to be 24, you said, 23, 24 years old. He doesn't have a bill to pay. He does nothing necessarily really to his name. No kids, nobody to really take care of. He's a man after his own heart. And if he wants to play another year at South Carolina, go right ahead. He probably won't have to take a very strong course load. He probably can, have what I would call to be a super senior year or a super senior semester or whatever, get his way toward a graduate degree. And you know what? The one thing that does give South Carolina some real big jolt is the fact that they have now a full-blown 100% leader on that offensive line after the departure of Zach Bailey.
Yeah, and on the defense, you've got T.J. Brunson coming back, who will be a 3-year starter next year, a 3-year leader in tackles, or maybe 2-year leader in tackles. Maybe I think it was Sky Moore last year. But Brunson is a very much an emotional and a smart leader on the defensive side. So they'll both be either a grad student or a senior. So you'll both have older guys kind of heading up those 2 units, I would think. That portends well for South Carolina going into the offseason here. And I think that Will Muschamp has got to feel good about that fact that he's getting a main cog to his offensive line to come back. And now, you await the decisions, quote unquote, of Jake Bentley and Brian Edwards. I guess the other 2 major players who are contemplating what to do.
The more and more I thought about the Edwards situation, I think he needs to come back just from the standpoint of, he's had the bum ankle. You don't know how that's going to test out, whether he goes to the draft or not, goes to the combine, however he's going to be able to run on it. Plus, I think he needs a full season where he is the man as a wide receiver. He needs to be able to prove to, I think, NFL scouts and people at the next level that he can draw the attention and withstand the attention on a collegiate offense without having Deebo Samuel on his opposite side. And as for Bentley, the one thing with Bentley that we keep going back to is how weak this quarterback class is. I mean, you're looking right now at Ohio State and Washington. Dwayne Haskins could be the first quarterback off the board if he ends up making the decision to go. And then after that, I mean, what are you looking at? You're looking at Drew Lock. I mean, there really aren't that many guys who you would look out and say they have better pro prospects than Jake Bentley right now. So it's an enticing decision. I do think, though, the best thing for him would be to come back and at least continue the progression that he has had over the course of the last year and the year and a half plus.
All right, phone number 800-956-7266. So a happy New Year's Day from a South Carolina standpoint. As for the bowl games today, we've got the Rose Bowl going on right now. And they are in the second quarter, just inside of 10 minutes, and Ohio State has a 14-3 lead on Washington. Buckeyes just got a touchdown pass to go up 14-3. Iowa beat Mississippi State 27-22, and that was in the Outback Bowl. Kentucky beat Penn State in the Citrus Bowl.
There was some bad blood in that Kentucky-Penn State game. You heard Stoops kind of coming out and throwing some shade over James Franklin's way.
27-24, Kentucky. Kentucky had a comfortable lead. Penn State rallied late. Kentucky holds on. You know, Kentucky, in my eyes, Kentucky is where USC was in the latter years under Spurrier, when they won 11 in a row and they won bowl games and they were winning 5 in a row against Clemson. That's kind of where Kentucky is. Kentucky was where South Carolina is now. I think Kentucky is where USC used to be. And when you look at the East, I mean, you got Georgia established, and now you've got Florida kind of getting back to where they used to be. South Carolina, Kentucky are kind of maneuvering for that next spot. I don't know if Missouri can be in that conversation or not every year. Maybe they will be with Kelly Bryant out there again, and they'll be very good. But you know, South Carolina has got to get back ahead of Kentucky in the race in the East before it can talk about catching up with Georgia and Florida.
Here's the thing, especially in the East, we're talking about Georgia, we're talking about Florida and Kentucky. I think Georgia's kind of in a category by themselves, and I think Kentucky and Florida are on that next tier. And I think South Carolina is on even a tier below that with Missouri and Vanderbilt and the rest of basically the teams that are kind of a couple of inches down from where the elite are. We probably thought going into the year that South Carolina was maybe up on the same level as Kentucky and Florida. They did not, at least for this season, show themselves to be on that level.
All right. LSU in a shootout with UCF, and LSU was trailed early, beats UCF 40-32. So there'll be no national championship talk by UCF this year.
And thank God, good riddance.
Yeah.
Get the heck away from me.
And we've got Texas and Georgia coming up tonight in the Sugar Bowl.
Looking forward to that game very much so.
Georgia is a 12-point favorite. I think I took Texas and the points.
I believe I did as well.
Yesterday, Cincinnati beat Virginia Tech 35-31, and Stanford beat Pitt 14-13. How's the ACC doing in their overall bowl picture?
I want to say they were 3-3. I want to say.
Is that right?
Because they didn't play today, and I think that was.
Well, Virginia won, Clemson won. That's two of them.
Clemson won.
They've had more than 3 losses. Miami lost. Pittsburgh lost. They had Syracuse won. Didn't Syracuse win their bowl game?
Yes.
Yeah, Syracuse beat West Virginia. We'll have to look it up and see. I'd like to know how the leagues are doing in their respective bowl games.
Duke beat Temple.
Duke beat Temple. There was basketball today as well. Winthrop went down to Tallahassee to play the 9th-ranked Seminoles. Played them a good game, got beat 87-76. Leading the way for Winthrop today was Adam Pickett with 19 points. Charles Fowden added 15. Winthrop had a 4-game winning streak end and is 8-5. The Eagles played without their top 2 players, Nick Smith and Bjorn Broman. I'm sorry, Bjorn Broman was limited to 14 minutes because of injury.
I have your ACC record there, 5-5, and 1 no contest with the game with Boston College that was canceled in Dallas.
Well, let's just give BC a win there.
SEC
just to help out the ACC.
SEC is 4-3.
All right, listen. Between you and Brian yawning here, I'm not going to make
yawning.
it.
Have I yawned on the air once?
I mean, like for 20 minutes leading up to airtime, it was Yawn City.
I have not yawned once on the air.
Eyes look pretty heavy.
Listen, I just ate a huge bowl of black-eyed peas and rice and collard greens.
That doesn't make you sleepy. What'd you drink last night?
It has nothing to do with the drinking. It has everything to do with
you see those bags under his eyes?
I ate some major food right before we came in. I never usually do this show on a full stomach, so I usually do it on an empty stomach.
Well, then why is your stomach always looking so full when you do the show?
Because I'm bloated because I want to have food. That's why.
All right. 800-956-7266
Just stuff. That's all to start the new year.
is the phone number. Lines are open. Give us a call.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Truth be told, there's not a lot. It is New Year's Day, but we certainly will entertain your phone calls, 800-956-7266. We might get a chance to talk to recently announced returning South Carolina offensive lineman Donnell Stanley, who made that announcement today. You wanted the bowl records by conference. SEC 6-4, out to the best start of anybody so far this postseason. Conference USA is 4-2, Mountain West 3-2, as is the Sun Belt. The Independents are 2-1, the one loss being Notre Dame. ACC 5-5, Big 10 4-4, Big 12 is 3-3, as is the Pac-12. The American Athletic Conference 2-5. Way to go, UCF. And the MAC 1-5.
All right, 800-956-7266, as Will mentioned, if you didn't know it, it is New Year's Day. So it's slow. Man, there was no traffic coming into downtown Columbia this afternoon.
Nothing open also. Nothing open.
Well, there's a couple of things open.
Yeah, I know. You're
found my coffee. Nothing downtown is open.
I say my walking distance coffee routine was completely gone today.
I hate when my coffee routine gets messed up. I really don't like that. 800-956-7266. Real quick, I was going to throw my idea out there to fix the college football playoff situation.
Need fixing.
So let's do this. Let's go back to were you snoring just then?
No,
I told you you're hungover. He is hungover big time. Hungover. Those of you watching on our feeds,
I'm fine.
Dude is hungover big time.
I'm ready, baby.
Anyway,
what's your hairbrand idea?
I want to go back to New Year's Day. Let's play 6 games. Let's play 6 bowl games on New Year's Day, the traditional plus Fiesta and Peach. That's 6 bowl games. All right, that's 12. That's 12 teams. And let's go back to the championship tie-ins. Let's put the Big Ten and the Pac-12 in the rose. Let's put the SEC in the sugar. Let's put the ACC champion in the orange, et cetera, et cetera. You'll have 12 teams playing, all right? They would be the best 12 teams in the country. Now, if you can't get 12 in there that you can be satisfied with, you got a big problem. And then let's decide on the best 2. Let's decide on the best 2 after that who play in the national championship game the next week. Let's take the winners of those games in a pool. Let's have whoever you want to have Herb Street do it, have Pollock do it, just get a group together and say, because the argument today is about who is not necessarily earned their way in with their record, but who subjectively is the best team. So let's just subjectively pick the 2 best teams and play it the next week.
So
and bring back the glory to New Year's Day. You'll make more bowl games meaningful. You'll have 6 meaningful bowl games instead of 2. And I think you'll create a whole bunch more interest and a whole bunch more controversy, which is always good for college football.
Here's the problem.
I like it. I endorse it wholeheartedly. Brian, what do you think? Brian likes it. 2 thumbs up.
Here's the problem. I got to get these fan bases to spend the money on those other bowls then.
Well, it's only 2 fan bases.
But I'm just saying that we already have.
By the way, do you know what a ticket costs in the national championship game?
About $1,000, I'm sure.
No, it's $550.
Okay,
$550
to watch a football game.
It was $450 when Clemson went to Phoenix a few years ago.
Rising cost.
$550.
No, here's the thing:
to buy a ticket to the national championship.
You're making the comment on Twitter earlier this week about how do its fans
let's check that out. Yeah.
How do its fans afford to go? I tell you how they afford. They don't go to the bowl game.
Did they not have a big turnout for the Cotton Bowl?
No, it was about 65-35. I mean, there was a lot of orange there. I mean, and the orange is very distinct, but place was crawling with Notre Dame fans.
Well, Notre Dame, of course, has a national following.
So your friend P. Andy made a very astute comment.
He's not really a friend. He's just somebody I've known for a few years.
He said the Clemson crowd is more agrarian, more, I guess, blue collar than
salt of the earth. Is that what he's suggesting?
So he's saying that they don't
necessarily. Pete Hannity say that Clemson fans are not wealthy people,
not wealthy enough to spend the money to go to a Dallas bowl and then a Santa Clara bowl both. So he said that they've gotten smart and they saved their shekels for the big one, and you're going to get that tenfold if you go to 8 when it comes to that. Even if you go to on-campus sites, and you're going to get people who are basically saying, look, if we feel like we have a team that's going to go to the national championship, why in the world am I spending all the money to go out to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena or
this
Peach
way
Bowl and all
with
that?
my idea? I mean, if you're Clemson, you're going to be going to the Orange Bowl. That's not too harsh of a trip.
All the Clemson fans I talked to said they're tired of going to Miami. They hate Miami.
When's the last time they went?
A couple of years ago.
Right, and that was for a national semifinal. So,
right.
I mean, right now on our poll question, Clemson fans, how are you able to afford 4 playoff trips in as many seasons? I'm not assuming that you can't afford it. There's plenty of very wealthy Clemson people out there. You've got 3 hours left to vote. We've had over 1,200 votes. And again, the majority of people are burning up their 401k.
I'm not saying that they're.
I like these two. 23% each say. One says I'm rich. The other one says my parents are rich.
I'm not saying that they're not well-to-do. I'm just saying the Clemson fans who were at that game, it's not an accurate cross-section of say what you would see at Death Valley. A lot of corporateness in that crowd.
But isn't that the case now with all these upper echelon bowl games? I mean, the corporations get a bunch of tickets,
right?
The businesses, the sponsors, the television networks,
and they all go to these independent companies who they try to sell them on the secondary market. I mean, again, trust me, it's all very, very much a corporate thing, and
like the Super Bowl. How many true fans get to go to the Super Bowl?
Not very many.
Yeah.
You realize how the Super Bowl tickets are distributed, right? They're given to basically all 32 teams in the National Football League, and there's only a very small percentage, like 5 to 10%, that is reserved for the host city to sell on their own.
Well, anyway, that's my idea. I like it. To me, first of all, this idea of having the national semifinals played 2 days before or 3 days before New Year's. I mean, it just really makes, as irrelevant as the other bowl games are, it just makes them feel even more irrelevant. I mean, the semifinals should be the peak. Actually, everything should lead up to the semifinals, and then that's it. And then we have 2 teams left. They practice for a few days, and then they go play the national championship.
I did like that it was on a weekend, though. I mean, that made it.
Well, that's why they
did it.
Saturday. That's why they did it, because they had a weekend opportunity. And I think they feel like the TV ratings would be higher. Now,
they weren't, though.
I was going to say the ratings
were about a quarter. They were down 25% from what they were a year ago when the games were on New Year's Day.
Right. New Year's Day is the best day to do it. I still say let's go back to 6 New Year's Day bowl games, tie them back in, and then pick the 2 best teams from that pool of 6 that win and go play the national championship and be done with it.
Why in the world, and maybe it's because of the NFL playoffs, but like, why in the world did they determine that the national championship has to be played on a Monday? Like, it's the worst day to do that. Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Well, they don't want to extend it any farther.
Right.
I mean, it's already January 7th.
But
these guys do have to go back to school. I think Clemson starts classes probably next week.
What I'm saying is, why don't you just do it the week after January 1st?
Well, that is the week after January 1st.
No, but I'm just saying, put the games on the 1st and then just do it 1 week after, whatever day of the week it falls on.
Well, yeah. I mean, technically, they're doing it within 6 days of New Year's Day now.
What I'm saying is, why does it have to be confined to Monday? Like, the reason they do it like this is so that they can get the opportunity and have the Monday championship game.
Right. I mean, I think the reason it's falling where it's now falling, if you listen to what Dabo and Saban said yesterday on the conference calls, is that, they like the 9-day break. It gives them a little extra time to recover from the semifinals and to prepare. But then again, they're not going too much deeper into January. Like, I think last year or a couple of years ago, the national championship game was on January 11th.
Right.
They didn't want to go that deep, so they put it on the 7th. 800-956-7266. We had callers holding on. We should have opened up the express lane, and then we would have taken the calls right away.
Who was the one
we did
who
not.
told you to open up the express
All right, well,
lane?
open up the express lanes here coming up. And what that means, of course, the express lanes open up, and when you call in, we drop whatever we are doing. We could be interviewing Donald Trump. Talking about the wall.
What about Donnell
and the
Stanley?
End of government. And we would break in to take your phone call. We will not interrupt Donnell Stanley if we get him coming up. We'll pause the express lanes and then reopen them if we get him coming up here in just a little bit. So the number 800-956-7266. You can reach us that way here on New Year's Day. How many days into the month of January do you go before you stop writing the year that you just left?
Who writes anything anymore?
Well, you don't write checks anymore?
I haven't written a check in years.
Okay, well,
everything's online now.
I have that issue.
Come on, old man.
15 days to change.
Nearing halftime at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, where the shadows are taking full effect in the shadows of the San Gabriel Mountains. 4th and 9 right now for Ohio State, who is punting with a 14-3 lead, a minute and a half to play in the opening half of the Rose Bowl game. Still one game left to play tonight, Texas and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans.
Well, there's nothing like some good news to open the new year, and South Carolina needed a little dose of good news after the bowl game, and they got some today. Their offensive lineman standout Donnell Stanley took to Twitter and announced that he will come back to South Carolina for the 2019 season. He has a 6-year of eligibility. He's going to take advantage of that. And he joins us now from California, where he's out there hanging out with the family and relaxing a little bit before coming back to school. Donnell, thank you, man, for joining us. Happy New Year.
Oh, same to you.
Tell us about your decision. How did it come to this where you decided to come back to school for another year?
I was talking to Coach Muschamp and, Coach Wolf and all, and just seeing where I stand. So Coach Muschamp, he put my name in some general managers and get me a good projection of where I stand at. So I just wanted to wait on that and then, just talk to my family and everything, and just wanted to do what was best for me.
What was it that you learned from the NFL guys about what they think of you at this point?
Oh, well, they thought highly of me. I just didn't like where I was right now. So, I just want to take advantage of it and just increase my stock up and hopefully get hired for next season.
Yeah. 6 years, that's a long time in college for anybody, football player or student, and people wonder about why somebody would want to come back for a 6-year and instead of getting right into that NFL career and getting that started. So what was it from the football standpoint that attracted you back to South Carolina for that final year?
Well, as I was saying earlier, I wasn't in a rush of, getting out of school and everything. I mean, like you said, this year I'm still 23 right now. So I think if you ask most 23-year-olds, I'd like to have a free education, don't have to pay any bills right now. So that was one of the biggest things. And then if you look at what all we got coming back and what's coming in, I think we got a good chance to have a special 2019 season.
Donnell, obviously, looking at the way that the season ended, it really had an uneven finish to it when you think about the Florida game, the South Carolina game, and, of course, the disappointment of the Belk Bowl. How much of the way this season ended kind of factored into your deciding to come back for another year?
Yeah, this was a season that we all thought we would have a better season than what we ended up having. But, we had ups and downs, but the past is past. I know everybody's disappointed from the bowl game and so the players and the coaches. So we can do everything we can to get this tape out of our mouth and come back and have a good season this year.
What do you think was the biggest inconsistency from your team? Was there a preparation breakdown? What led to the way you guys failed to acquit yourselves against Virginia in Charlotte?
No, we prepared the right way. We, like you said, we just breaking down. Didn't think we had a real good mindset coming in the game, and with all the injuries and stuff we had some guys who haven't had a lot of experience. But we're not gonna make any excuses about it. We just got to play better as a whole team. So that's what we're gonna take from this game.
Talking with Donnell Stanley, USC offensive lineman, who announced today he will be back for another season in 2019. What will you play in 2019? Will you go back to guard, or do you think you'll be kept at center? What's the plans with Muschamp and Coach Wolford for you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to my natural position at guard, but if I need to play center again, I will. Since they got it, under the twos and everything. So, I can play both positions now. So either way, it helped me out a lot.
Is that more because of Hank kind of sitting there entrenched at the potential center position, and the fact that you guys are losing Zach, or is it more of the fact that that's where you think you project in the National Football League as a guard?
No. Well, right now I'm back in school, so I'm thinking about a season. So, I want to do what's best for the team. So we got a couple guys who can play center right now. And that's Hank and Chandler. But those guys can also play guard too. So they're better at guard, and I'm at center. That's what it'll be. But
how do you
decide that?
How do you think Hank handled things in his first game, his first start, and at center for South Carolina in the bowl game?
Yeah, that was Hank's a true freshman. That was his first game. Well, he played a little bit in the Chattanooga game, but that was his first game starting, and especially with a big stage like that. Yeah. I mean, he did pretty well for you. His confidence was good, and he made all the right calls, and he did all he could. So,
all right. So, with another year to come back to play college ball, what is it that you think you have to improve in the most that's going to get you up the draft charts for sure when you look ahead to the 2020 draft, which you will be in? Where do you have to take your game to move up the draft list?
Yeah, coming back to guard, I can get back to 2017 season. I was a high-graded guard for most of the season, and then playing center, I had to learn some new things. But coming back to guard, I just want to improve my feet and just improve all the tools it takes to play offensive line. So always room for improvement.
How much was part of the feedback from the NFL guys, the fact that you can play both and just the cross-training at South Carolina, the fact that you've kind of played all across the offensive line? How much of that are they looking for from the feedback you received?
Yeah, so if you look at an NFL roster, they only travel 8 offensive linemen, so they need guys who can play 2 and 3 positions, and that's what Coach Wolf wants all of us to do anyway, and that's who he's recruiting. So.
Donnell, you look at 2019 for the Gamecocks, and boy, Alabama, you got to go to Missouri. Of course, Kentucky's had y'all's number. You got to go to Georgia. Florida's a lot better. You got to go to Tennessee. You got to go to Texas A&M. You got to play Clemson. And people are saying there's just no way this team can survive that kind of schedule. What do you guys in the locker room say as you look ahead to 19?
Man, we just take it one game at a time. We let all those critics and people just talking. It all boils down to us playing, so we know we can't fall into the trap of just looking who we're playing. We know the schedule is tough, but we plan to have a pretty good team next year too. So,
are you expecting Jake Bentley back at quarterback?
Man, I'm blocking for whoever he puts back there. I mean, I feel all the confidence in Jake. I know he can get the job done, but whoever's back there, that's who's going to protect for.
Yeah. All right. What's bigger, this decision or being inducted into the Latta High School Athletic Hall of Fame?
I didn't even know I was in the Hall of Fame until like last week. So. And I still haven't got any word from the Latta itself. So I heard from Phil, but I mean, that's a big deal too. But the decision was, it was building up for a few months and everybody was waiting to hear it.
Yeah. How long have you known you were going to come back? I mean, is this well, obviously you knew prior to the bowl game, I guess, because you said you're going to make a decision. Did you know well before Charlotte, or was it just sometime in the last couple of weeks?
It was really sometime in the last couple of weeks. I was just back and forth on it. I was leaning one way and then I was leaning the other way another day. So, I mean, I just wanted to, clear my head and don't have a game to worry about. Don't have to watch any film or nothing. So I have plenty of time to think about it and make the right decision.
What are y'all doing in California?
I'm just hanging out with my family for the holidays, and, just getting away. And never been to this part of the United States, so it's something different for me. So.
It is. Indeed.
A little different speed out there to know.
Hey, man, listen, congratulations. Have a happy new year. I know you've made the new year very pleasing for Gamecock fans, off to a great start, and they look forward to having you back. And best of luck to you. Look forward to covering you during the spring.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you. Donnell Stanley coming back to South Carolina for another year.
Didn't think too highly of that induction to the Latta High School Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think, well, like he said, the only way he knew about it is because I told him. I had to show him in the Dillon Herald that his name was actually on the list. Of course, they're inducting 60 people.
Oh, well, you're saying it's a cast a wide net? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's only 2 years old if you want to go into details.
Okay.
And so the first class was nothing but coaches.
Right.
And so this class is made up of some coaches and former athletes.
Are broadcasters eligible?
There is not a broadcast wing.
Is that a broadcast wing?
But I don't want to get in on my broadcasting skills. I want to get in on my athletic skills. When I go in, it will be because of my athleticism.
I was asked about whether I wanted to be in the Athletic Hall of Fame, and I'm like, not for my athletic accomplishments. I said, no, for your broadcast. I said, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. I will only go in. I hope the people are listening. I will only accept it on the basis of my athletic skills,
which are very, very few and far between.
Thanks to Donnell Stanley for being with us. Back in a moment.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
You and I are going to agree on something for the first time in 2019. Isn't the Pac-12 just awful?
Yes, they are.
21-3 is the score. I believe that game has just gone to the half in Pasadena. 21-3 Ohio State all over Washington, who, again, is only in the Rose Bowl by the grace of the fact that they play in a conference that still does sponsor football, albeit not nearly on the same level that the rest of the Power Five seems to.
800-956-7266. Express lanes are now officially wide open for the rest of tonight's show. What?
If you missed Donnell Stanley's interview with us from the South Carolina Gamecocks, of course, he is returning for a 6th season. It is now on our website, SportsTalkSC.com.
You know, we look at the schedule for South. We were talking about this off the air, so let's talk about it on the air. 800-956-7266. Express lane open. You jump in. We jump off. I've got a little recruiting as well we'll get to in just a moment. But, you know, South Carolina's schedule next year, I see a 2-0 start. I see them beating North Carolina, spoiling Mac Brown's return. Brian, the yawning has got to stop. Between the two of you,
I have not.
You're making me sleepy.
I have not yawned since the show started. I'm getting a second win.
So anyway, I see them opening up at 2-0.
It's no small feat. That's North Carolina and Charleston Southern.
Okay, you can give them what you can give them,
Okay.
and then Alabama comes to Columbia. And
It's difficult.
what do you think about that?
I'm not doing
Oh,
it.
let's go to Mike in Sumter.
I'm not doing it.
On the express lanes.
You can't get me on that crap
Good
anymore.
job, Mike. Welcome in. How are you? Happy New Year.
Same to you, Phil. How y'all doing?
Good, man.
Happy New Year.
I just got one question for you, and I'll get off the phone. What was the purse for the Cotton Bowl, and what would be the purse for the championship game?
Purse.
Yeah, what are the teams getting payment-wise? There's still a payout involved with these games. It's in the millions. When you make the college football playoff,
Well, the way it all happens, it's the bowl revenue is distributed by the conferences, and it's distributed by where the conferences, how many conferences get in a certain amount of bowl deals. So that all is kind of determined after the season's over. So basically the way it is, like if the SEC gets a berth in the championship, they'll get an extra cut, and that's distributed by the 14 other teams, if you will. So that's kind of the way that works.
Here's a story. College football playoff payouts by conference 2017-2018.
That's last year's.
Yeah, but it's pretty relevant to now, I would say. So it says here, ACC, $54 million base payout, $300,000 for each team, which meets the NCAA's APR for participation, $6 million for Clemson's berth in the semifinal. So that was last year. Clemson got $6 million.
And they got $27 million for the berth in the Orange Bowl, based on the contract average pursuant to a contract between the ACC and the Orange Bowl. They got about 80.
That was Miami.
Yeah, so they got $87.5 million basically because of that, and that is distributed with the ACC's member schools individually and equally.
Yeah, so that's you can take that and probably apply it to some degree to this year. It's going to be about the same thing.
For example, Big Ten got $89 million. Orange Bowl situation as well, getting that too as well. Pac-12 got about 62, and the SEC had about 70 million last year. So,
and
they get
where does that money go?
And they got an extra 6 million because of the fact they had two teams in the semifinals.
Where does that money go when you think about it? Ticket prices continue to go up. Cost of parking continues to go up. It's ridiculous what they're charging for these playoff.
Well,
what was the playoff ticket in the Cotton Bowl?
It was about $300-400.
Yeah,
I'm telling.
And now $500 plus to go to the national championship game.
Your question is, where does the money go? My question is, where is it coming from, and when does it run out?
Well, it's coming mostly from ESPN.
But I'm just saying, how much longer do they want to pay that out? Because they're not getting a lot of viewership on these games.
Well, what is a lot of viewership? Now, they had 17 million watching the Clemson game.
Yeah.
They had 19 million watching the Alabama game.
As we said, 25% lower than what it was before.
Okay. Yeah. Is part of that because of the cutting of the cord to some degree, as more and more people turn away from cable and thus find other things to watch?
Has more to do with the fact that the game sucked.
Well, I know I've watched fewer bowl games than ever this year. For whatever reason, I've watched fewer bowl games than ever. Maybe it's just me. I have to think about that. Maybe it's just me. When you cover,
I'm the same way.
Well, but you're like me. I mean, we cover college football from late July all the way into December, traveling, being at games, and at a certain point, you reach that moment where it's like,
well,
I can't watch any more football.
It's not just that. I'm not going to waste my time with bad football. See, that's also the reason why
I used to watch any football. To me, if a football game was on, I would watch it.
I'm a bit of a purist. I don't know. That's the reason why I don't want expansion, because I think all it is opening up more bad football. We don't need more bad football.
We got a notification here on our timeline from a listener named Laura responding to the poll question about Tiger fans, how they afford it. She says, not going, I'm broke. Can we do something to help Laura? Maybe start a GoFundMe page?
Says she's a mom of 2 beautiful children, loves Clemson, the Atlanta Falcons, and Adairsville, also NASCAR. She is a
and she sounds like somebody who needs some help to get out to San Francisco.
She is a Kennesaw State alum, so not a Clemson alum.
Well, she's got a very good team at Kennesaw State. Aren't they playing? Did they make it to the FCS championship?
Then they beat Wofford. They eliminated Wofford.
They did, yeah. Second round. They're a very good team. Very good team. Anyway, if you want to help out Laura, she's saying she can't go. She's broke. So, all right, just a recruiting note here on New Year's Day. Last night, right after we left the airwaves, our man, 2020 quarterback DJ Ua Galele, Bellflower, California, announced a list of 7 that he will be considering. Really, it's 6 because one of the 7 is Mount San Antonio Junior College.
Yeah, why was that?
Just down the street. It's in Walnut, California. It's just down the street from Bellflower.
Mount San Antonio Junior College is in California?
Yeah.
Okay.
Walnut, California, to be more exact. It's actually called Mount San Antonio College, but so people would know what it is, I put junior college in there. Anyway, the more serious candidates will be Clemson, Oregon, Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. Top-rated prospect in the 2020 class by most of the recruiting analysts. 3,361 yards, 48 touchdowns last season. 6'4", 235, prototypical pro-style quarterback. Has been to Clemson twice, most recently for the USC weekend. That was the day the Tigers put up 56 and 744. And he told us afterwards he was amazed by the offense, all the receivers, the big receivers, the offensive line. He was really impressed by Clemson, the atmosphere. He says it's somewhere you want to play. They have a winning program. They're going to play in the playoff every year. Don't tell Dabo that.
Yeah.
They're going to compete for a national championship every year.
Don't tell Dabo.
Yeah. He has been to all the finalists except for Oklahoma, and last week he was in Phoenix to watch LSU go through a practice for the Fiesta Bowl.
The biggest competition is going to be Southern Cal, draw of home, kind of similar to what we saw with Chris Steele.
Actually, I think it's more Oregon.
Really?
Yeah, from what I've read, I think it's more Oregon, Clemson. Now, Georgia's interesting. He's got Georgia on the list. When we talked to him after he visited for the South Carolina game, he said Georgia was not a factor with him, but they are on the list. You never count out Alabama. You know, it was funny. During the conference call yesterday, somebody asked, it was an Alabama writer, asked Nick Saban about Justin Ross. And, you know, he had to be doing a slow burn about the fact that Clemson came in and took the #1 player in the state. Of course, he's got good receivers of his own.
I was asked about Ross on an Alabama radio station I went on earlier this week. And from what I remember, Clemson was in on him early. Had that very early relationship. And, you know, once Alabama and Auburn took notice, it was too late.
Well, I talked to his coach a good bit during the recruiting process, and he's like, nobody comes into Alabama and gets the #1 player. But now, in consecutive years, you've seen Ross go to Clemson. You see Webb. Is it Webb? The offensive lineman from Oxford, Alabama. Yeah, Clay Webb.
Yes.
Going to Georgia.
Yes.
He might be the #1 player in the state or near the top. Clemson has another recruit coming in from Phoenix City and a safety, Ray Thornton. And they're in on the #1 receiver in the class for 2020 in J.J. Evans. So they're going into Alabama into Saban's backyard and saying, come get some.
It's just recruiting because they put white sauce on their barbecue and we actually put actual barbecue sauce on our barbecue. Maybe that's what.
Is that a difference?
Could be a thing.
Very good. Listen, you and Brian take a nap here at the top of the hour so you can come back refreshed and ready to go.
He's going on a coffee run.
I cannot handle the yawning. All right, it's the top of the hour break. The express lanes will be wide open in hour number 2 when we come back.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show. 800-956-7266.
We are back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266. Happy New Year to you. As we begin 2019 live from downtown Columbia at our Learfield studios. 800-956-7266. We have opened up the express lane so you can get right through to us without delay, no matter what we're doing, no matter who we're talking to, no matter how important it is that what we are saying. We will interrupt and go to your phone calls. During the break, we found a video with DJ out in Bellflower, California.
We've been saying it wrong this entire
oh my gosh,
time.
His entire existence in our neighborhood, we've been saying it wrong. It's Uyang Ulale. DJ Uyang Ulale. DJ Uyang Ulale. Say it.
No, it's you. No, it's you. It's Uwangalale.
Yeah, DJ Uyang Ulale. I mean, I'm breaking it up syllables just to say it.
It's Uwangalale.
Uyang Ulale.
Uyangalale is what it is.
Uyang Ulale.
No, it's Uyangalale. Uyangalale.
Uyang Ulale. I've got the audio right here. You want me to play it for you?
Yeah.
We'll have to play it. Uyang Ulale. Uyang Ulale.
He said Uyangalale.
Uyang Ulale.
You keep saying it wrong. You're so bad at this.
DJ Uyang Ulale.
Stop it.
Hey, listen, it'll be Don Munson's headache. Don Munson, the voice of the Clemson football team, in a couple of years, he's going to have this cat probably. He's got Edinosa, Ruben Edinosa coming in. He's got, of course, the
Oquanrororo guy.
Yes, it's a mouthful. They're going to have a mouthful.
And if you think he has no chance, you know who absolutely has no chance? Your boy Todd Ellis when they play Clemson. He can't even get Garantano correctly.
I'm not going to have any comment on that. That's your world.
He can't even get Garantano right.
Looking at Clemson's recruiting class for 19, you've got Ruki Orohoro, Etinosa Ruben, Brighton Constantine, Caleb Boating, Tayshawn Pumachan. I'm telling you. Oh, and Joe Gata or Joe
Ngata.
Ngata.
Yeah, it's Ngata.
Ngata. I mean, I'm telling you, you got a mouthful there.
So does LSU win the national championship for beating UCF now? Is that how that works?
They get my vote.
Is that how that works?
I get my vote.
By the way, I'm sorry. I know that I probably have been a basher of UCF more than anybody on this show.
I mean, I could care less.
I'm glad that they lost.
Bash away.
I'm glad that they lost. I've taken it as my own personal affront.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, they have come a long, long, long way as a football program.
Sure.
I mean, they've got plenty of resources. They got 50,000 students. They've got a new stadium. Apparently, they got some big-time money boosters who can keep it floating.
It's a big school.
And they play an exciting style of offense, and they can attract players from Florida, good throwers. They have they were competitive today, and their quarterback, of course, has been out for the last several weeks. Great quarterback's been out with an injury. You know who's going to play there as a freshman next year receiver is Donnell Stanley's brother.
Really?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is this, from the standpoint of where they are, once they started saying things like we're too good to play Florida in a 2-for-1, you would have gotten on your knees and begged to baby Jesus that you could want that game no more than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So get off your high horse, play the damn 2-for-1, give the fans of the state of Florida an actual chance to watch a game, possibly between these two clubs, and then stop your belly aching.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're not in a position of power to do that. But then again, look, Florida's lost to LSU before, so I mean, there's no great shame in losing to LSU.
Yeah, and who else
LSU's
does UCF
having a great year?
Who else does UCF play? Temple?
Well, yeah, they play a weak schedule.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. But still, they're a quality football team, and they have good athletes, and they'll be back next year.
Speaking about the AAC, how about Applewhite only getting 2 years? That was kind of a weird situation. So,
well, how about our man from West Virginia going to Houston?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why is that job
attractive
more than that other job at West Virginia?
Well, I mean, look at Houston was willing to pay him something West Virginia wasn't, apparently. But yeah, and he has some ties to Houston.
Yeah.
He's got some kind of either past there or some kind of ties with
used to be
Houston.
an assistant there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, but again, because he was an assistant under Sumlin when Sumlin was at Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and also was an assistant at Texas Tech under Mike Leach.
Well, you know that school well.
Yeah.
I mean, you know the campus. You know.
Well, they've got a brand new stadium, new
Right.
facilities.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of money. The guy who owns the Rockets is one of their biggest boosters, Tillman Fertitta, who
Mm-hmm.
owns basically half the casinos in the Gulf Coast and stuff like that, and a bunch of restaurants down there, Landry's and all that stuff. But I just don't know how you go from a school in the Big 12 and end up at a school in the American. And here's the other part of this too, is that, you know, having had some dealings with West Virginia in my past, he was never fully appreciated there. And for a guy who went 61-41 at his time there, 38-32 at a school that doesn't exactly scream pageantry in college football, other than the fact that, you know, Bowden was there, and that's about it. That's about it.
Jim Carlin was there.
Yeah.
And then they had a coach who was there for a long time.
Bill Stewart was there.
Is that who I'm thinking of? No. The guy that Bill Stewart replaced.
Oh,
he was there a long time. Of course, Rich Rod was there for a short time. That's not who is that who I'm thinking of? That's not who I'm thinking of. They had one of those long-time old coaches, right? Who's kind of like their
Don Nealon.
Don Nealon, that's it. Yeah. Don Nealon was there. And he had a great record.
But we're not looking at them as, like, you know, heavily prestigious football program where they should be on their high horse about 61-41 and 38-32 in the Big 12, which again is not, you know, not the Big 12 it used to be.
So the question is, where does West Virginia turn for their next coach? Who do they go after? You know?
Exactly.
Good question. All right, 21-3, Ohio State's in control of the Rose Bowl right now. 12 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Bobby Bowden winning percentage at West Virginia 61%, which was a tad better than Dana Holgerson's 59.8%.
All right, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. What do you think of my idea?
I hate it.
For the postseason? I'm not asking you. I'm asking the multitude. What do you think of the idea of going to 6 games on New Year's Day, making New Year's Day the day in college football like it used to be, and then taking the 2 best teams from New Year's Day? Okay, have yourself a select group who watch all the games and break down all the data and say, based on what we saw on New Year's Day, it's clearly Team A and Team B are the 2 best teams. Let's go have a playoff somewhere, you know, predetermined in a week. And have a one-game national championship.
You got belly aching now. You think you're not going to have belly aching during that?
Well, I mean, okay, first of all, you're going to resolve a lot of the complaints about not enough teams having a chance. You'll have 12 teams who will have a chance to impress.
Who are the teams complaining that they don't have a chance? The ones who are not in there. No one's complaining about the fact that the college football playoff is going to give us what we call not a true champion. The 2 best teams in college football this season, and really for the better part of the last 4 or 5 years, are the ones that are playing for the national championship.
Well, if Georgia wins tonight, tell that to a Georgia fan.
Sorry, you had your shot. You had your shot.
Well, then why are they still talking about Georgia should be in the playoff?
Because of the fact that Notre Dame did not belong, because Notre Dame, despite their record, is not in the same category as the top 3 that made it.
So who should be in there besides Notre Dame?
I mean, maybe Georgia deserved
you
to be there.
just said Georgia had their chance. You can't have it both ways.
I'm not.
Either they had their chance and they blew it, or they deserve to be in there.
I'm not saying Georgia should be in there. I'm saying
I don't think they should have been in there because they didn't earn it. You're right. They had their chance. They could have beat Alabama. They would have been in there.
I was giving you their response. I'm not. That's not my response. My response is, look, I don't think we need more than 4 teams. We have the 2 best teams in college football play. It takes care of itself.
This year it did.
And Dabo is basically the one who comes out and says that the regular season is the playoff. If you take care of your business and take care of your schedule, guess what you get to do? You get to play in one of those big shiny bowl games on New Year's Day or thereabouts.
There's only 3. Well, there's 5, but the shiny ones are like 3.
Or thereabouts, because of the fact that
I still say you can make more people happy. You'll probably get a greater look. You know, right now, you are cutting down the interest in that how many the Clemson people, the Alabama people, and college football fans are going to be interested in the national championship game. But what about your casual fan?
In reality, there aren't that many teams that are in the upper echelon of college football who compete for the championship on a year-in-out basis.
Be right back.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Well, Ohio State just scored again in the Rose Bowl that is becoming less and less meaningful by the minute. 8:23 to play third quarter. It'll be 28-3 with the point after.
So, with the end of the bowl season today, leave us just one more college football game Monday, Clemson, Alabama. Plenty of talk on that coming up. We've got the ACC basketball season off and running with Notre Dame and Virginia Tech today. Virginia Tech beating Notre Dame, Clemson and Duke Saturday night. You saw the Gamecocks play yesterday, basically an exhibition game for them. Actually, North Greenville did not count that game in its record. They count that game as an exhibition, so it does not go as a loss.
And it doesn't count if the Gamecocks are going to go towards any kind of NCAA tournament berth.
Yeah. So, but what'd you think of the Gamecocks? I mean, another injury. Frank was out. But in terms of A.J. Lawson maybe getting his stroke back because he's been struggling with his shot, just a team having a decent performance against an inferior opponent. What'd you think?
Well, it's always good to kind of get the taste of what was a 4-game and month-long losing streak out of your mouth. And I think that's the one thing that was the most important part for Frank. And anything to kind of get the confidence up before a conference slate that looks, again, I don't want to use the word treacherous, but the fact that you have to go, I mean, both Clemson and South Carolina have very, very tough ways to begin their conference slates. The fact that South Carolina has got to go to Florida right off the start is not good. And then when you think about the fact that after that, you have waiting in the wings Mississippi State, Missouri, at Vanderbilt, at LSU, home Auburn, before you play Oklahoma State, who's going to be no slouch on the road, and then Tennessee in the tournament last year, at Georgia, before you really look at that first game that looks like a slam dunk win other than maybe Vanderbilt. I mean, these are all very, 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 very tough games. Ken Palm had them, I believe, somewhere in the realm of 5-13 projected in the conference record realm, and if you put that with the 5-7 that they are, that's a 10-20 year. And that is not something that if you are Frank Martin, you want to see with your team. And there's really only a couple of games that look, again, like slam dunks. Like Vanderbilt is one, Georgia is one, A&M maybe because you get them at home. And then, I mean,
I am so sorry. That's really good stuff. But let's go to Ryan in Hartsville on the express. You wanted the express lanes open. I'm sorry. You know the rules. Ryan in Hartsville, thank you for joining us tonight here on Sports Talk. Happy New Year.
Hey, Phil. Happy New Year to you guys, too, man.
Yes, sir.
I just had to get something off my chest. I've been listening to you guys since 1988, but Corey Miller, the pastor of Payne, last week, he always, and I know he's a Carolina homer, and I get it, and I know he bleeds garnet and black, but he, last week, threw Clemson under the bus, how Notre Dame was going to roll over Clemson.
I don't think he said roll over.
Well, I don't know if he said roll over, but he said they were going to, they were going to beat Clemson pretty handily, and how Carolina was going to handle Virginia, middle tier, ACC, Region 3A, whatever, and and so I just wanted to call and just see what you had to say about that, man, and I'm going to hang up and listen.
Well, he also bleeds crimson and white because he's a big Alabama guy. You're going to hear a lot about that from him tomorrow night when we have the M&M boys with us again. Hopefully they'll be with us. Corey just loves to stick it to Clemson fans, whether he actually believes that stuff or not when it comes to South Carolina. He's just trying to stick it to Clemson fans, just like Will likes to reverse it. And he's always going to try and –
Will Merritt likes to reverse it.
Yeah. So he's always going to try and go positive as best he can with the Gamecocks. But he'll be heavy on Alabama this week. There's no question about it. He does not think there's anybody in the country who can hang with Alabama. See, I actually think, to be honest with you, I actually think Clemson's going to win the game.
No.
I might not even take the points. I might just say don't want the points, don't need the points. But I'm not that foolish. I'd take the points if I can get them. But I actually think when I look at it and analyze it from my own professional angles, I see two great offenses. Great offenses.
Yes.
Okay. I see Two great defenses. I really do.
I see
two special teams that can have some issues kicking field goals. So I see two very similar teams. I see two very well-coached teams. So what's going to be the difference in this game? They both have excellent running backs. Maybe Alabama has – well, I think Clemson has as many excellent running backs as Alabama.
They got one excellent running back.
They both have excellent receivers. Clemson has got the bigger armed quarterback, I think. I mean, Tua throws it extremely well. He's extremely precise with his passing, but then again, so is Lawrence. It may come down to who executes the trick play, who executes who maybe turns it over once or twice more than the other. See, Alabama, what was the score when they played Georgia in the SEC championship game? Like 20-something to 20-something?
It was low score.
It was in the 20s, right? Yeah.
But a lot of that, again, had to do with the fact that it was Jalen Hurts.
They haven't played.
35-28.
Okay. And they got one touchdown off of the fake punt that led to a touchdown, right?
Yes.
So they haven't played, outside of Georgia, they haven't played a defense as good as Clemson's all year. And Georgia's defense, kind of contained them a little bit. I'm thinking Clemson's defense is going to be able to keep Alabama somewhat under control, and Clemson's offense is going to score like it normally does. I think they'll be able to complete passes and open some things up and get their running lanes for ETN. And I think that Venables is going to have a good game plan defensively to have a spy or someone to make sure that Tagovailoa is kind of kept in that cocoon of the pocket and not allowed to hit the running lanes and hurt them that way. That's how I see it. I'm picking Clemson.
Here's my issue with everything involving what you're saying. I think the things that –
well, you just naturally take the opposing viewpoint, but that's fine.
This is not true.
Continues to elevate me as being the premier thinker and mind of sports talk, as I have been for over 35 years.
This is not true at all, but from what I'm saying, there were a couple of games this year that you were dead wrong on that I was completely correct on. Look at the Florida game.
Exceptions do happen.
Look at the Florida State Clemson game. From the standpoint of where Clemson,
if you can remember the times you've been right, that tells me that's few. But go ahead. I can't remember all the times I've been right. So many times I've been right, I can't even remember.
Quit filibustering and let me have some time, please. I want to say this
filibuster with a PHIL.
Clemson. The concerns that people had about Notre Dame against Clemson, I think, will be realized when they play Alabama, because I think what people were trying to build Notre Dame up into is actually what can befall Clemson against Bama, because they have a mobile quarterback who is an upper echelon quarterback. While Book is a mobile quarterback, he does not have nearly the talent level that Tua Tagovailoa has. Notre Dame does not have nearly the receivers that Alabama has. And Alabama has plenty of great receivers, including Jerry Jeudy, who is the next level player. They've got running backs. They've got offensive line. They've got defensive line. And the one thing that Clemson does not have that Alabama has is a solid secondary. I still have concerns about that secondary because of what happened against A&M, Syracuse, and South Carolina. They got pantsed. And I think that they have pantsed.
P-A-N-T-S-E-D.
Pantsed.
So pants can be a verb?
As in they looked like they were running with their pants on their ankles.
Pants. I'm going to see if that's actually a verb.
It's a thing.
I'm looking to see.
Brian knows what that means.
See, I don't do the Urban Dictionary.
Well, they
verb, pantsed. Simple past tense and past participle of pants.
They got pantsed. Point is, they did not look good in those games.
I was in middle school, and during lunch, when there wasn't any staff members in the cafeteria, someone pantsed me by pulling down my skirt. Is that what that means?
Yes.
Pulling down their skirt?
Yes.
I've never heard that.
They got pants. And point is, I think that
I don't like that word, pants. I'm not going to use that word.
There's a propensity for them to be pantsed again. And that's a problem for me, because I don't think that Clemson is going to be able to score at the level that they need to in what would probably be a shootout.
See, I created a word earlier tonight, and you didn't catch it.
Which was?
I said portell when I meant to say portend.
Yeah.
So I took pour and I took tell, and I made a new word called portell.
I don't think Dabo knows that word.
Well, it's not a word. It should have been portend. But anyway, pantsed. You use that with that. Ask Dabo if he's ever been pantsed before tomorrow when you're going up there tomorrow.
We don't get Dabo, though.
Well, you should.
We don't get any time with Dabo. It's just players.
All right. We got time for more calls. Express lanes are open. It's 28-3. Ohio State. Looks like Urban is going to go out with a win. Should Ohio State be in the playoffs?
No.
Going to go out with one win.
They had their shot 2 years ago and got shut out in pants. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. We, from anything we could tell, didn't see anything with Clemson football team being on the field today. One would think that they maybe got themselves a light workout or maybe a lift today and
Salt baths.
Something along those lines.
Probably having a lot of salt baths. South Carolina offered a basketball player today. He announced Isaiah Cottrell, 6'8", out of Las Vegas.
I know that they're not going to put out any particular bad stuff, but one would think if they are trying really, really hard, or if they're just resigned to the fact that they're not going to see Dexter Lawrence in a Clemson uniform again, why have we still not heard anything about why those players were suspended?
Well, first of all, they're not going to put out bad news this week. And number two, it's the holidays. Who's working during the holidays except the players and the coaches? They're not going to have any administrators, I don't think, diving into this stuff. They're not going to be questioning players or coaches or anything like that when their focus right now is on Alabama. And the NCAA is not doing anything. They're on holiday break, so you're just up against it from that standpoint.
Will Muschamp tells me New Year's Day is not a day; it's a ball.
It's a what?
It's not a day; it's a ball.
It's a ball.
Yeah. It's not a.
So anyway, I think that they're just other. It's just the timing. Now, once they get through next Monday, if they're really interested in finding this out, what the issue is and what the source of this thing is, they'll get down to that, and maybe we'll have some information coming soon thereafter.
So you think it's the salt tubs?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm just throwing that out there to stick it in the tiger's crawl a little bit.
I don't think it's the
picking.
I don't think it's the hair cream thing or the acne cream like was being talked about.
Well, I mean, there's just a couple of questions in my mind if you're inquisitive about it. It is, number one, is it just coincidental that 3 guys with a similar injury being treated are the 3 guys that tested positive for this, number one?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, how is it that only 3 tested for it out of maybe 15 or 20 who were randomly tested? How did only 3 turn up with it? That could be a good thing for Clemson. That would mean it's not widespread. It's not something that is a program-wide issue. I think my instinct tells me it's got something to do with their rehab of their foot injuries, something that they were all doing, sharing, digesting, sitting in, soaking their feet in, whatever the case may be. I mean, that's got to be the red flag here.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing that has to be proven for them to win this appeal is basically lack of knowledge or lack of education by the school. Now, I don't know how you prove either of those things. I think that probably is one of the reasons why we're seeing a lack of we saw transparency up top, but after that fact, it seems like they're, like I said before, resigned to the fact that he's not going to play.
I find it hard to believe that these 3 guys are involved in some major drug usage, major ped usage.
Absolutely
You're talking
not.
about a guy who's just a guy who's a couple of weeks away from signing with an agent and cashing in big on his career.
No, I put this on the school. I don't think it's anything from the kids.
We're talking about a reserve offensive lineman who's never played and probably is never going to play in a big-time way in their program. And then we're talking about a tight end who has some promise and who has played some and will have a chance to play moving forward. I just don't see where these 3 guys would stand to benefit by any means knowingly taking this stuff. That all being said, I'm the NCAA and I'm the people who investigate this stuff, and I'm looking at the data and the information. And if you believe Dabo Swinney, and why wouldn't the NCAA believe Dabo Swinney? Never lied as far as we know. He says it's infinitesimal. It was a
trace sample.
Yeah, just a very small amount. He used various words.
0.02% was the number that Dexter gave us. I don't know if that's a percentage of what was in their system or what or not. I have no idea.
So it just seems to me like these guys are getting the death penalty for a jaywalking violation. I mean, they are really – this is a year-long suspension for them for next year if they were to be back in the program for something that appears to be, from where I sit, totally accidental, totally not something that they planned out, and there's nothing evil going on here that I can tell. And the NCAA hits them with a brick upside the head. That seems like way over the top punishment for what the alleged crime is here, from where I sit. Now, if there's some other information to come out that says otherwise, and I want to see it, and then I will change my opinion.
Well, here's the other part of this, and you have to also think about where WADA, the World Internet Opening Agency, kind of sits on a lot of these things, and they are very, I would say, anti-innovative. Everything in innovation moves at a glacial pace with them, and if they can't get their hands wrapped around a particular new drug on the market or things of that nature, they are basically going to ostracize it. They're going to ostracize the ostarine or whatever, you want to use the pun there for that. I just, in my mind,
yeah, they are ostracizing you. They're burying their heads in the sands. What they're doing.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there are things that you could go and walk into a Vitamin World or a GNC and get tested and basically test up positive for things that would get you banned by the NCAA. Things like that would also get you banned by Major League Baseball, NFL, things of that nature. So I don't see why you can't walk into a general nutrition store or a vitamin shop or whatever. I don't see why anything you can't get in there isn't something that you can use on your body to get yourself ready.
But here's the problem with this ostracine. It's not approved for anything.
Right.
The only way you can get it, according to the definition and the Wikipedia stuff and all that stuff, is
I'm not talking about
market.
This. I'm not talking about this.
Oh, you're just talking in general.
Talking in general. Yeah. Now, the Ostarine thing, like you said, is.
But then again, there's stories that say that people who make these protein drinks, they put that stuff in there without you knowing it.
Well, because a lot of these things, I mean, the way to get into these houses is a lot of natural stuff, and basically they're all selling the same stuff, so to speak, and they have to put different things in there or hide them, if you will, in order to make their product look more effective. And so, yes, of course, they're going to put things in these drinks or creams or whatever, Epsom salt tablets or whatever. They're going to put things in these natural healers, if you will, or natural methods to make their product better. But apparently there was enough in there to get in the system of these guys in order to have them test positive.
All right, 800-956-7266 if you want to jump on board here. The express lanes are open tonight on this New Year's night. Ohio State cruising, going to the fourth, up on Washington 28-3. Washington's been a big disappointment this year. Got the great quarterback back and all that, but they just haven't had a big year. This will be their fourth loss. So Ohio State's going to finish 13-1. And
I lost to Purdue, man.
Yeah.
Could have been in a playoff.
One bad day.
I tell you what, if they didn't
if you go back to what I'm saying, man, take all the games on New Year's Day. Now you would consider Ohio State for that national championship game. Coming off this kind of performance?
No, you wouldn't.
Come on. Yes, you would.
Not over Alabama and Clemson.
Make for great debates in Alabama. I mean, you have to think about that. Alabama could not put Oklahoma totally away. I mean, they kept the lead, but they couldn't put them totally away. And let's jump to the phone lines. Jeremy in Orangeburg. See, I interrupt myself. Jeremy, welcome to Sports Talk. Happy New Year.
Hey, man. Happy New Year.
Yes, sir.
First off, I'll let y'all know I enjoy the show. Y'all do I think both of y'all do a good job. I've listened for a long time, and I think y'all are neutral. I like the way both of you cover it and just enjoy listening to the show. But, yeah, you're talking about the Ostarine thing. The one thing, now I'm a Tiger, and it does have warning labels on these things. I agree with Will that you should be able to use those products, but it does tell you on most of them that this isn't approved, like by the whatever.
They'll say something like it's not approved by the Food and Drug Administration and the World Anti-Doping Association. Because again, they're very slow and glacial. They want to get their arms wrapped around it. And of course, there's another part of this too that they don't tell you about. They get a cut. They get a cut from it. So it's a little bit of money involved. So from that perspective, again, it's a very disingenuous business, this energy drink and stuff. I mean, it's not the same.
Hey, you want to hang on for a second? We got to hit a break. We'll let you finish on the other side, okay?
Okay.
Hang on 1 second. We'll continue with your phone call. We can take more here in our final minutes of our first show of 2019. Yes.
The energy system. I mean, it's just such a savage industry, man. It's like the pharmaceuticals, man.
Yeah.
They're thieves.
We'll be right back.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
We were talking earlier about South Carolina's football schedule, beginning against North Carolina, Charleston Southern, and we have a little bit of a window in the Clemson schedule, and we'll kind of break that down as we get you ready for the 2019 football season while 18 is not done.
Yeah, that's like, only 9 months away. Back to Jeremy in Orangeburg, and thanks for waiting. You can pick up where you left off, sir.
Yeah, I was talking about the stuff like the supplements and stuff at GNC, and I know for certain there are instances where these companies like male enhancement products and stuff like that, where they'll take an actual drug that's not supposed to be in there, and it's killed people to where it's something that you were supposed to get. Now, I know the Austrian is a black market, but so there is, I could see a situation where those guys were taking something and maybe didn't know, maybe didn't know that this company had slipped that in there, but hopefully they'll get to the bottom of it.
That's a dangerous thought, man. I mean, really, it's a dangerous thought that you can say go into the vitamin shop or GNC and buy a product and, take something and there's something in there that you didn't expect that could turn up in a test and cost you. Yeah.
Price of doing business.
And that's why they pull certain things off the shelf. Like you may go back and there may be a pre-workout or something that, we're not selling it anymore. And then you go and start reading online and you find out that such and such was found in it and it caused these issues. But
we'll have
that's
to
all
ask,
I got, man. I appreciate
that. We'll ask Mr. Pelagic here to comment about, the substances inside the male enhancement
I don't need it.
Product that he obviously has taken over the years.
I don't need any enhancement. My issues are rather clean and in order.
Very good. 800-956-7266
reached that part of the show, haven't we?
Is the phone number.
So you had North Carolina and Charleston down for
wins
for South Carolina.
Yeah, let's go back to that.
No,
before we do that, we were talking about South Carolina basketball. We'll get back to football in a second. We're just talking about the basketball season coming up.
Yeah.
So the SEC now is all neat and tidy. They have completed all of their pre-conference games with South Carolina beating Greenville yesterday and Vanderbilt beating Asheville. So everybody is in. So Mississippi State went 12-1, Tennessee 11-1, Auburn 11-2, Kentucky, which has really played some great basketball of late. They beat North Carolina, and we go to the express lanes here on Sports Talk. See, I interrupt myself again.
I'm lovely that you're being very consistent.
You do it, I do it. Dan in Charlotte, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I was listening to your show about the Austrian drugs and stuff, and ESPN had a special on E60, and Marion Jones, she's a professional track athlete.
Yes.
Anyway, she got stripped of a lot of gold medals and everything, and she said at the end of her interview, she said at the end of the day, these athletes they know what they're doing. And they know what to say, and they know how to cover it up. She said take football for instance. They can go to an NFL combine, and if they increase their 40 speed by like a half a second or a second, they can go from like a third round pick to a second round pick, or a second to a first. And she said at the end of the day, these athletes, they're schooled and they know what to say and what to do. And she said they know what they're doing.
They think it's worth the risk.
Well, here's the other part of it. She was part of the Balco stuff, and she took EPO and THG and things of that nature. We're talking about an infinitesimal percent of a drug that most people haven't even really heard of. Like that, she was in a drug ring.
Yeah,
an actual ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she also said that it's like the drug you're talking about. It's supposed to help the human body get well faster to where they can get back on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
And
which makes sense when you're talking about three guys dealing with leg injuries
all I'm saying is
or foot injuries.
Those three guys, they knew what they were doing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I still think it's more on the school than the kids.
Go to Jack in Lake Bowen. Hello, Jack. Happy New Year. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Appreciate you taking the call. I didn't call about this subject, but I want to tell you that I believe that they knew, the players from Clemson knew exactly what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to move on. My team is Carolina. I'm a grad from Carolina. And 50 years season ticket holder.
Mm-hmm.
Old guy. I know football. I played the game 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, my team quit last Saturday. They quit. And had I been Muschamp, I would have taken the entire team, offense and defense, out of the game, and I would have put the substitutes in there. I promise you I would have done that. I'm not some guy that's never played the game and knows nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
They quit. And I hated it worse than anything sitting there watching that. And I'll talk to you guys later, and I appreciate your show.
Thank you. Well, you know, I mean, there might have been some individuals. I can't judge that stuff. I'm not capable of telling you what kind of. I mean, I can see if a guy doesn't run over to make a tackle, if he's standing over there talking to the wide receiver and the play's happening nearby, he doesn't run over to make a tackle. I can see that. I'm not going to say Donnell Stanley, quits or guys like that. I thought they just it was just a day where by and large as a group they didn't play well. Maybe Virginia, did they want it a little bit more because they were tired of hearing this stuff about ACC versus SEC and it motivated them a little bit more?
In my opinion, that game wasn't lost on Saturday. And I don't even know if it was lost in the preparation up to the bowl. That game was lost in the games that came down near the end of the season where they kept losing all of those players. Mm-hmm. And I think at this point, it's human nature to basically kind of be debilitated to the point where, man, we are preparing and we are dropping like flies.
Well, even a healthy South Carolina defense has trouble against a mobile quarterback.
Right.
And this guy was really, really good. And he had a hot receiver and he had a hot running back. And South Carolina had no answer on defense. I think the Gamecock fans who've been critical of the two coordinators for their game plans probably have a good argument there because they didn't adjust in the second half. South Carolina, well, they did come out and get a stop on the first possession, and then the Gamecocks didn't do anything on their possession, and then Virginia went down to score to make it 21-0. Mm-hmm. And as Muschamp said after the game, then it became a real problem because they knew offensively they were going to have to kind of throw the playbook out the window and go to the air quite a bit, and it was going to be tough for them to block Virginia's rush, and it was.
I don't want to go again. I don't like, from what the previous caller said or the previous point that he made, quit putting like Marion Jones and Lance Armstrong and Barry Bonds in the same category as these three individuals from Clemson.
But actually, you say Barry Bonds, I mean, he never tested positive for anything, did he? Now, everybody believes it, but if you go by the facts, he never tested positive for anything. But, I mean, maybe he did some stuff. He was part of the Balco investigation, wasn't he? And he was on the list that Major League Baseball put out.
He also had a lawyer who he funneled money to who would never give up his source on the stuff there. But the point is, I still think that you have to give them the benefit of the doubt because of how little of this drug was in their system, number one. And number two, again, unless we find out the fact that Clemson's part of a drug smuggling ring where they're getting this stuff from a third world country or Mexico or whatever. Mm-hmm. Until we find that out for sure, I think you pause to hold your judgment from the standpoint of where you give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, if it comes out later on that there's a systemic problem and heads roll, then I think they're open to criticism. But putting them in the same light as a Marion Jones and things of that nature, I think is irresponsible.
You and I both took Texas in the points tonight. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah, so we'll see how that turns out.
I told you that's where I thought we were.
Yeah.
We both took Ohio State, correct?
Both took Ohio State.
Okay,
they're going to cover.
Nice.
We both took I took Kentucky. You took Penn State, sorry. And Kentucky was getting 6.5 points. I'm going to do the grading tonight and let you know how this thing looks.
I'm not losing any sleep over it.
We'll obviously have to do one more pick for the national championship game as well.
You don't even want the points. You said you want it outright.
Well, let me think that a little bit more.
You want them outright.
I'll think that a little bit more.
Don't be a wuss now.
I'll think about it. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. See you tomorrow. Oh, did I delete his thing? Shit. DJ Ooh